This episode of the Turf District podcast is brought to you by Alberta Blue Cross. Life as a business owner can be hectic, to say the least. Alberta Blue Cross understands that. They offer flexible health, dental, life, and disability coverage for your employees. Even better, you can let your staff enroll and manage their coverage at any time and on any device. That makes life easier for them and for you. You've got this when it comes to group coverage for your small business, and Alberta Blue Cross has got your back. To learn more, explore your options, head to ab.bluecross.ca. Enjoy the show.
Hey, fellas, we ain't gonna ever back down from nobody. I don't care who it is. This is a brotherhood. And if we stand strong together, we can't be denied. If one of us goes down, we have another, and another, and another that's ready to fight. So let's hit this field and bang them, bang them, bang them. Somebody light me up.
It's time to huddle up. It's the Turf District podcast.
Marinating in green and gold. I love it.
Welcome back to the Turf District, where we huddle up to talk all things Edmonton Elks and the CFL. And we're a proud member of the Alberta Podcast Network, locally grown, community supported, and also a part of the Canadian Football Podcast Network. I'm Andrew, and welcome into the district tonight. Boy, we have another fun show, and we're trying a new setup tonight, so hopefully it sounds good. To give us your feedback right in the chat if you can. Don't forget to put your questions in the chat as well for our guest and for us. If we don't catch them during the show, we'll absolutely get to them in overtime. Thank you for joining us on YouTube Live, or of course, thank you for downloading the podcast, and make sure that you're sharing that link with all of your Elks and CFL friends so that we can get more people to join in the huddle. Let's bring in the gang this evening. Tonight, I just have myself and just one of our co-hosts, but it's the one that has the greatest horde ever. Superfan Mike.
Uh-huh.
There's the Jantlers. Lovely.
Right, I got like, I got subscribe. There
That's
we go.
Oh, that's the name of the Jantlers? I had no idea. Those were, I never remember that. Is that like Thor's goats? Like it has yeah.
Just like Thor's goats.
You know, since we last chatted, I've seen that movie twice, and
I've seen it zero. So maybe next week.
You're missing out. It is outstanding. Oh, it is so much fun. One of my faves. How are you, Superfan?
It's been good. We're talking about 2 wins in the last 3 games, which is pretty fantastic for us to talk about.
Yes.
That was quite fun. Of course, we had Fan Day.
Yes.
Which was also a lot
How
of
was
fun.
Fan Day? Because, of course, I didn't get to make it out because I was driving down south. So.
Yes, absolutely. I enjoyed it. I always enjoy getting around to interact with the players and everything else. It was not attended nearly as well as it has in the past. You know, if I had to guess, maybe 400 or 500 people there. When it usually can be upwards of 10 times that.
Okay.
But I mean, you're talking about it in the middle of summer versus in May or June, with training camp. And I didn't see a lot of advertising. Usually it's on Global, right?
Yes, yeah.
And it wasn't this time, at least that I've heard or seen. So, but I mean, everyone that was there had a great time. Got to talk with Trey Ford.
Yeah, I saw that.
My son, that's his favorite player because Trey came up and talked to us in the stands at training camp, and that was it. It was instant love. So he came out. He even managed to sign something for my son with his sling on, and
nice.
That was it. He was beaming the rest of the time. So, I mean, anytime you can get a kid hooked like that, it's great.
Yeah, that's outstanding. That is fantastic. Yeah. And now, before we bring our guest in, I will apologize for last week as we, things came up and life gets in the way of the podcasting sometimes. But on the other hand, you know what? We didn't really want to talk about that game anyway. So now we can talk about a good game. And who did we bring in to chat with us? It is our good friend, Dave Jamieson. Welcome back to the show, Jaimo.
It's great to see you guys and be back with all of your followers and viewers. And, I love this group. The minute I heard you guys were doing what you're doing, and I know I've been a guest too often. You remind me that, but I'm glad you have me back.
Oh, it's not too Jaimo, you could be on every week and we would still love it.
Well, you're too kind. You're too kind.
Lots of good stories. Tell us a little bit. It's been since 2019 since we've had a chance to have you on. Obviously, between all of the missed football and you needing some time, of course, for your health. But we're glad you're back to talk green and gold.
Thank you.
But so much has changed. There's a new team name. There's new people in the organization. As you mentioned, I have no hair. Basically, it's a whole new team. So what do you think of all the changes and where things have landed even before the season started this year?
Well, I've given it a lot of thought, and I was asked and very honored to help write the video for the helmet, the new old helmet,
which was awesome.
And so they did a great job with it, and I just contributed some words and kind of the tone and connected them with Jed Roberts, who did a wonderful job narrating it. Change is inevitable. It should happen not just in football, it should happen in life, and we should embrace it where possible. It's different for me to go into that dressing room and into that building where once I was there and knew everybody, and now it's a young, vibrant staff led by Victor Cui. They've got, and I think Victor's vision for what this franchise can be and really what the league can and should be is very exciting. But times were not kind to the Edmonton Elks or even the name it previously operated under. Mm-hmm. Things had gotten very dire. And while the record, would they be in first in the East or tied for first?
Pretty close,
yeah. Okay. So you need perspective, right? And I know these are challenging times, both on the field and off with the crowds and stuff, but the fixes never come quickly enough for some. And while Edmonton enjoyed decades of success at the turnstile and on the field, it can go away pretty quickly. And a pandemic, took the kneecaps off a lot of businesses. And so the CFL was not immune, and it's going to take hard work to come back and remind people that they're there and they have a world-class product. But it's not easy. And if it were easy, everyone would have found solutions a lot sooner than, now. But I'm quite energized. I'm a season ticket holder again. I bought a pair of season tickets.
Outstanding.
To go and just be a fan, and I'm on the Alumni Association. I'm one of the directors, but I wanted to be a fan again and just go to Commonwealth and sit up high and just enjoy and just kind of, drink in that experience again. And so I'm really excited to what's coming in Winnipeg here and all that stuff. So anyhow, I'm a fan again, but a fan, I guess, with some privileges.
Yeah. you deserve.
It's not like I don't want to be, that guy, but it's and I bought my shirts and I'm ready to go.
You deserve all the privileges, Jaimo. We've said that for years. Come on now.
That logo just looks good on everybody, doesn't it? It's
it
awesome.
Does. It does.
So, we've seen a lot of the attendance issues that are happening to the team, but across the league and in fact across sport. You have a unique perspective given your background, with communications and the marketing you did for the team itself. What other steps do you see that maybe you haven't seen yet that might be needed to bring the fans back?
Well, and this is sort of a philosophical thing, and I even though I am the old guy on this, event tonight, I hope that I'm not, that guy that says, well, in my day, we did it this way. Well, in our day, it was a decidedly different city. The influence of social media and all of the tools that go along with that, the various platforms didn't exist, or they were in their infancy. So what I see now from the Elks, and led by Victor and a very talented young staff, and they've got a great videographer, and they are using the tools of now to communicate with a fan base that they're hoping to connect with. And even, just because you're of a certain age doesn't mean you're not on Twitter or not on Facebook or not on, you're there. And hopefully you're getting their message. The only thing I might add to that is I don't think you can completely forsake traditional media like a billboard. to be driving down a stony plain and seeing the Elks message, whatever, Game Friday, that kind of thing. I still think that there's a place for that. Mm-hmm. That there is still a place for, as you mentioned, with Fan Day and seeing that on global television. And I understand there's fiscal pressure on the team. I mean, they've been, their revenues have been severely diminished, and so I appreciate that. But I just don't think everything can be marketed with a hashtag.
Right.
And I while I at the same time maintaining that is vital, it's central to whatever your approach and your tactics are going to be. I still think there needs to be a healthy mix of the other if you can make it work financially.
Well, and there needs to be a poster that says "Defend the Turf" because we all know that was our favorite one ever.
And a fridge magnet. Yeah.
Jaimo.
Yes.
Come on, use your powers of persuasion and get the fridge magnet back, will you? Because that's the one we need from you.
That's my legacy as a fridge magnet, and clearly I didn't do nearly enough to, master the portfolio, so to speak. Yeah.
Well, we're fans either way.
Yeah.
Now you mentioned it. You're doing a bit more with the alumni now. So tell us kind of how that's going and kind of what's going on the alumni side.
Well, it's a lot of fun, and I was a member. I've been a member for I'm guessing a little bit, maybe 5 years, just a member at large. And was asked a couple of years ago if I would consider becoming a director, and I was approved. And there had for over a few years been an attempt to get a website built and brought to life. And so I put up my hand foolishly and said, well, I mean, sure, I'll dive in, and brought it to, the hard work, the real work is done by a gentleman named Joe Gunnis who does the CFL Alumni Association. And I picked up the portfolio, and then I got sick. And so there was, I was trying to do it through, my post-surgery and my radiation, all that stuff. So a lot, I could have moved it along. We could have moved it along quicker if I hadn't gotten ill. So footballalumni.ca is the website, and it's, it's definitely a work in progress. But we needed somewhere to live online, and we have a Twitter account. And we will add to the arsenal, if you will. But it's just a way of connecting, and and again, the organization was started, I think, in '86, and it started out really, football and friendship, and it was a way for players after their career to stay connected to the team, also provide support to those in need, players in need, and I think really the James Bell story, which you guys both know well, was a real catalyst for the Alumni Association. And so many years later, here we are, and really kind of reimagining the group. There's a lot of younger individuals, Mark Tobert, Rod Connett, Mookie Mitchell is our president, and there are other players, and Hector Pache is still involved, thank goodness, because he's vital to it. Bain Nori is still there. And so, it's an alumni association that I think is going to try to its best to continue the work that it does. And I think the most important one, the most enduring, is player support. If an individual who played in Edmonton might need a hand in whatever it might be, we're there, and to the best of our ability, we'll certainly help them, get connected to the resources. And, when players' careers end, they end quickly. And football exacts a heavy toll on the human body. It really does. It's a wonderful sport, and we want everyone to come out of it healthy and in all facets. But that sometimes isn't the case. And so we're there and provide to the best of our ability at least some resources and some help to those who need it.
Well, and most importantly, when you're on there now, can you connect us to Marco Sincar? No, I'm just kidding.
Is he the unicorn guest for you guys?
He's one of
for Andrew.
Yeah, for me, that is absolutely on the list of unicorns. So we might have to talk.
I know
after.
Guys. I know.
Okay.
Let's just say I know people who know people, and we'll see what we can do.
Let's get our people chatting. Exactly.
Yeah.
All right, super fan. We got any fan questions that we can go through before we start tackling some news on the team?
Absolutely. We've got a few in here. Coach Vic is asking, what are your thoughts on the vibrant social media interactions that Victor Cue is promoting?
Oh, I think he is really skilled at communicating with his audience, with the audience, their audience. Victor has a broad vision that this is the team that plays in Edmonton, but the brand is national and international, global, if you will. And, he's a guy who's worked in Singapore, obviously, and we know his story well about one championship. And so he thinks big. And so I wouldn't imagine that him coming here, or coming to the Edmonton Elks would, shrink that vision. He's still going to think, well, how can I make this bigger and reach more people? And, there are lots of people who've grown up in Edmonton, and he was one of them who was here and then moved away and then has returned. And so he wants to try and connect to as many people. And even if you're not in the stands at Commonwealth, you can be an Elks advocate. Mm-hmm. You can be a fan, and you can be a fan from a distance. And so I think what the tactics he's using, I'd love to say that, if I were, 25, 30 years younger, I would be doing the same thing. But he's got a lot of skill in that area, and you can tell. And it's really what I'm very impressed with is it's very much his voice. It's an authentic voice. This isn't somebody who's having a bot farm do it for him. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
True. So true. Yeah.
Very organic for sure.
Yeah. It feels that way to me. It feels real. Like you can tell the contrived ones, right? From the desk of the president. I mean, oh God, okay, sure. But when you see him sitting in the stands at IG Field, that's him sitting in the stands and enjoying it from a fan's perspective. So I get that. And I respect that.
Doesn't have all of his tweets ended with 30.
Yeah.
And I think you're right though, Jaimo, in that it's genuine too. Like it truly feels genuine. Yeah. So that's a nice thing. Yeah.
Okay, we got Chris Agar's asking, of the traditional media advertising you'd like to see more focus on, what are your top picks?
Well, in 12 to 14 years I was with the club, and you guys, we've talked about this before. I did the marketing and the advertising along with, and the if you will, the sort of the toolkit was the staples. I mean, print back then, and Sun and Journal, and it was Global Television. We had a partnership with, and we had billboards, both static and then digital. We also had transit. Website, I mean, it's not really kind of worth talking about because all of it in its infancy. Radio, heavy radio user, and not just on the broadcast, and frequency. I mean, I don't want to get too media nerd here, but frequency. You can't tell people enough. When you only do business, and people hated it after a while. They're like, yeah, okay, we get it, Dave. I said, we're a mattress store, and we only sell mattresses 10 times a year. So we know it's Friday night and we're playing Winnipeg, but we got to beat people over the head with it. And so in the 4 or 5 days leading up to a game, because, you only got so much budget. You can't do every day of every week. Then you got to hammer them, and you got to be on the various radio stations. But again, there will be someone listening going, yeah, old man, that worked back then. But I know it's a fractured universe. It's a fractured media landscape. But I sort of would live in the fear of, God, who didn't we touch this week? And I know they've got a great partnership with the Chorus and 630 Ched and all the stations there and with Global and with TSN. And I know they're working. And I pay attention to that stuff still.
Sure.
And even though I work at Bell, well, not even though, Bell Media is a huge part of the Canadian Football League. Yeah. But we're not the rights holder of the Elks. I pay attention to that. So, to answer the question, I would have billboards. This is still a city that loves to drive. Yeah. And that's how we get around. And so, I think a big board on Stony Plain or wherever, you look at big digital boards, I think those things matter. Again, it's eyeballs. Where are you going to get them? If you're driving, you're likely not on Twitter. Or at least I hope you're not.
The guy I was driving behind today. Yeah, I think. But yeah. I think with the graphic designer they've got most recently, I don't know if it's the same person and they just sort of taken the shackles off or what, but they've been some really creative ideas with the posters before every game, where it was the bird in the cage for the Alouettes game and the donkey.
It's really creative.
Yeah,
and I think Victor, I think has allowed his staff, at least from my vantage point. I don't have any proof on this, but it just looks like, okay, let's go.
Yeah.
Like, let's not be safe.
He's empowered them for sure.
Right. And let's push stuff here because, again, you have very few opportunities to try and make budget. And it's hard, even in the best of financial times. And clearly we're not. So I like the idea that he's done that, and I've noticed that as well.
Well, and I remember you telling us before, it's like every day there was a different player on the, sitting at Chorus or sitting at Global or whatever saying, hey, this is what's going on, and find that player and find that attachment, right, to be able to get out there.
Yes.
And maybe now that's all in videos. Is that all in Reels? Is that all in God forbid I say it, TikTok? Or is it something, but you just have that moment of, hey, this is this guy that connects you and then you want to go, right? So it's, but every day there's got to be something that says, remember, this is us and see you Friday, right?
It's storytelling, and it's the frequency of telling the story. And there are great stories to tell. I mean, you will never be bored meeting the players in a CFL locker room because of all what they have. But our attention span is so small now. It's so, again, I use the term fractured.
Yeah.
You don't get very long to grab somebody and say, hey, we're open for business. People go, well, look at Garth Brooks. He sold out this. And they, but Garth Brooks isn't playing 18 games a year or 10 games a year at the same stadium. Now, granted, you can say he sold out, Rexall or Rogers or whatever it was. But this is different. I mean, this is, an organization that's been around for 76 years this year?
74.
Yeah.
74, sorry. Okay, well, again, you have to sort of treat yourself as, hey, we're new. And you got to keep raising your hand and trying to grab attention.
Yeah. Say, look at
Absolutely.
us. Yeah. Now, speaking of great stories, that was an excellent segue. We're going to get into some Elks news because we haven't talked about this, and I kind of saved it to talk to you about because Ricky Ray is going into the Canadian Football Hall of Fame this year, and an amazing induction and well-deserved. But and I hope he goes in all in green and gold, even though I know he won't, but he should. But I have a feeling that you might have a Ricky Ray story or two for us. And because it's story time with Jaimo, this is the time to talk.
All right. I mean, the football side of Rick has been well told and well documented. And you guys, you know the path to the 05 Cup, and you know what it was like in 02, and he got there as a rookie, and how he arrived on the scene, and I, I'll get to the stories which aren't necessarily about what he did on the field, because everyone knows what he did on the field. But I can remember still, and I talked to him not that long ago to congratulate him on the induction. He came to the office, the old office, like it was right before training camp, and he was a late arrival. I mean, he was there in time to start camp, but I mean, I think Rick Warman was working with the quarterbacks who were coming to camp. And Ricky arrived, came to the old office, and I remember him coming in, young guy with hair. And he
I remember those days.
And he had a knapsack. He might have had a suitcase. I'm not sure, but he was hustling down the hall. And I remember turning to Jamie Cartmell, who's now with the head of comms for the Oilers, who was working with him then. And I said, who and what is a Ricky Ray? Because we laughed because it sounded like the name you would give a quarterback in one of those Lifetime movies, that make you feel good. Ricky Ray. We're like, that can't be his real name. Like, did he get it from the XFL and he kept it?
And his hometown, for that matter, too.
His hometown and Happy Camp. We said, like, this is not for real.
And you're like, and
then
the other guy says, well, he's the chip delivery guy. Yeah.
Right. Well, then that story,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
that whole thing was just, I mean, God, we had chips. I mean, we had chips upon chips upon chips. Remember that story breaking? I think Vicky Hall was the one who wrote that originally, or somehow ferreted out that story And then we had the poster and Frito Ray, and I mean, there was just a lot of good stuff going on around him. But there's two stories. I mean, he was very, I'll say innocent, but just a very, a guy with no airs, no arrogance. And his first year, we sent him out to do read-in week. So he shows up with a bat knapsack. I mean, again, he looked like he was, third year sociology at Happy Camp, junior college. And he rolls out. So we send him off to a school, and it might have been in, sort of the surrounding area of the stadium. And he comes back. He brings books, God bless him. They get him to the school, and they pull out the hockey sweater for him to read. Like, Mr. Ray, would you? And there he is, and there's a picture somewhere of him surrounded by little kids, and the hockey sweater. I mean, I think we all know it. Your viewers will certainly know it. Well, Ricky's not familiar at all with Maurice Richard,
Right.
and calls him Morris Richard. And so he comes back, and he's like, comes and sits in our office, and he's like, hey, Rick, how'd it go? And this is the first time reading week. Thanks for doing it. We're talking. And he goes, hey, who is Morris Richard? I said, okay. Welcome. We're going to have to run through some things in Canada. That's Maurice Richard. And stop calling it ice hockey.
Yeah.
You get it. Like, and I would say to him and other Americans, you don't need the ice. Like, we all assume, we're not, like, this is not grass hockey. No one's going to go, oh, grass hockey, ice hockey. Wow, you had me confused.
Yeah.
I said, here, it's just hockey. Just stop it with the ice. He's like, okay. And, I mean, he would have those conversations with Rick, and you never knew if he was really playing you, because he's really smart. But he'd say, hey, and we sent him to his first Oilers game. He'd never seen an NHL game. He goes, I have a question for you, Jaimo. I said, go ahead, number 15. What is it? He goes, why do they pass the puck around so much? Like, if you get it, why don't you just shoot it? And it got really quiet, and we stared at each other, and I said, why don't you do that? Like, why don't you just throw it for the end zone every time? Just heave it. Someone will go and get it. Yeah, Ed Hervey will run under it. I said, there's kind of like, it's not just guys faking it out there, although maybe the Oilers back then were, I don't know. But yeah, I mean, Morris Richard, and there was also another, and I think it's captured in Jason Johnson's documentary he did, and you guys probably remember it.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Well, I came in the room one day, and there's, the three smartest guys in the room are, it's Johnson, it's Ray. I don't think Moss was there. I could be wrong. Maybe it was Moss.
In the documentaries there, yeah.
And these three wizards are sitting there at their locker, and they are staring. Someone has sent an autograph request to Ricky. We used to get lots of cards, and can you sign this? And I would take them over to the dressing room, and Ricky would sign them, and I'd take them back, and Marie, Scott, our beloved receptionist, would send them back. And so I go in one day, and these guys are sitting there, and they're puzzling over this letter. And I go, what are you guys doing? Jaimo, come on over here, check this out. What is a SACE? And I said, I'm looking at them, and I go, self-addressed stamp envelope. I went, there's a reason we can't move the ball. Because you three guys are the quarterbacks. Like, are you serious? And they're just like, wow, SACE, huh? And I go, yeah, SACE. Sign the card. You go have a good day, and I hope football goes well for you. Because, geez, there were just days where you go, wow, I can't believe we win more than we lose. Mind you, we had other quarterbacks where you could legitimately go, wow.
Yeah.
That's,
okay,
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
I guess we'll do the best we can.
I was going to say there's a few on that list, I feel. Yeah.
It's just, it was hard for me to remember that, like, he came in as the fourth stringer. I mean, we had Keith Smith was injured, and then we had Leon Murray ahead of him on the chart when he came in.
Leon Murray.
Yeah.
Leon Murray. Yeah.
And then he just won his way onto the team. That was it.
Well, it was funny when you think about it, because there was a buzz at camp early. And those who know, and I'm not one of them, But I'm walking around. I mean, to me, okay, you throw the ball and it goes somewhere and someone catches it, and I guess that's good.
Go somewhere.
But there were people, and guys like Hugh Campbell and Jack Parker standing there, kind of, having or whomever was hanging around, and you can hear the conversations. You just you're moving around. I'm checking stuff, and I'm stop and talk with someone, and you can start to hear people saying, "Hey, 15, check this guy out." And when people lean in when someone's about to do something, and someone who's good, they go, "Oh, I'd like to see this." You started more of that happening, right? And it happened really organically, quite fast. And he had a staunch advocate in Rick Warman, who, and Rick was a great promoter, both self-promoter and promoter of guys he liked. And, Ricky was, I think of all the players and there's so many that I was really, honored and blessed to be around. When you think that, we were there right at the ground floor, it's pretty incredible. Pretty incredible.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And that was outstanding. We'll get more stories from you when we get into overtime.
Yeah.
So I do, we were talking about the team doing stuff to kind of get out in the public eye again. One of the stories that got released is Project 2 Million. The Elks giving back to 20 local not-for-profit organizations over the next year. Sounds like an amazing project and another initiative that is winning over, hearts with Victor Cui again, because hey, you're a community-based team, give back to the community.
Yes.
And I love this. I love everything about this.
That is essential, that they have a power in their brand, the Elks brand. And Victor clearly has taken a look at all of the things, assets. What do the Elks have? Well, they have prominence, and they have, they are certainly a category unto themselves. They're the only professional football team. They have an audience, both here in the stands and people that follow and the various things that they follow them on. And to your point, they are a community-owned team, and you got to walk differently, you got to talk differently, and you need to be responsive to the community. This isn't private ownership that could go, yeah, well, whatever. And Edmonton and this football team have a relationship that really kind of goes well beyond first downs and field goals and touchdowns. And it's I think Victor is a smart guy. He's a very savvy business person, and he has realized that community connection is vital. Not just it's not about, this one is not selling people. This isn't handout, buy a ticket to see us take on Ottawa. That isn't, but this is, building or buttressing the brand in a way, however, that is more good for those organizations that are on the, part of this Project 2 Million. And if you, at the end of the day, you feel good about this and you feel good about the Elks, that's good for the brand. And maybe you'll think one day, hey, I should go to a game. It's soft. Like it's impactful, but it's not a hard sell.
Yeah, I agree. And I just love, I love the connection. Just connect whichever way you're going to connect. And this is the way to connect. So I really like that. All right. We've got a little bit of roster news before we talk about the game. Last week, a trade happened. Did you hear about that, Superfan?
I think I might have.
You might have, yeah. Nick Arbuckle off to Ottawa for a 4th-round draft pick. Was anybody on this call shocked that this happened?
No, not at all. I mean, we've heard rumors of them shopping him for, since Jones came on.
Yeah. At
this point. And, we're talking about a guy that has never played a snap for the team at this point. So we gave up a lot for him, and then we ended up paying another $100,000 as a bonus. So, you had to try him. And, he seemed to be great in camp, but just something when the lights came on and you were facing people that are trying to knock your head off, it just wasn't working in the system, I don't think.
I found him to be, is there a place for Nick Arbuckle on a team somewhere? Sure.
Yes.
But he wouldn't be a guy, if I needed to win a game, that I would necessarily want at the controls. Needed to win a game.
Mm-hmm.
Go in an emergency, go in either down by a bunch or up by a bunch or whatever. And he clearly isn't the future for this team. As soon as Trey Ford did what he did in Hamilton, And you got to remember, like in football, and like a lot of businesses, if you're not somebody's guy or gal, in other words, did the boss discover you? Do you have a pre-existing relationship? And in football, that matters a lot.
Sure.
Good players get moved out because you're not my guy.
Right.
Okay, then you bring in your guy, and we wish you all the best. And Nick Arbuckle was part of the old furniture that was in the office.
Yeah.
And even though he hadn't been here long, I mean, I think a lot of people sort of thought, okay, well, it was always sort of that guy. Like, God, if he got a chance to run his own team and stuff, won't he come? And he comes from the Calgary factory.
Right.
Well, not everybody that comes down the chute at the Hufnagel factory works out well. Many do, but not everyone.
Yeah, that's fair.
Not everyone that leaves, I find. Like a lot of people that sort of succeed, either Bo Levi's injured or for that matter, Bo Levi. Like they all seem to do well, and we have no idea what Bo Levi Mitchell would be like in a Toronto system or a Vancouver, whoever.
Yeah, it's very
he's
true.
Always played under that Hufnagel system, so.
Yeah, no, so that's, well, I wish him all the best. I really do.
Yeah,
I like Nick.
Great dude.
Yeah. So, but it opens up for us to find that guy who is going to lead the team next. And I think once he's healthy, that could be Trey Ford. On the other hand, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. And I just sorry to jump in, Andrew,
okay.
but when someone asked me doing my radio show, TSN 1260, comparisons, Trey Ford. And I didn't think it was sort of I gave it a moment's thought, which is more than I give most of the time to things that I spew on the radio. I thought, I see some Nealon Green.
Okay.
And I know there may be someone who goes, people who think, oh, well, Nealon. Well, Nealon, when he got the job, remember he arrived from Toronto.
Yep.
Don liked him.
Mm-hmm.
So he was Don's guy.
He was.
And Trey Ford is Chris Jones's guy. And Don really wanted to have it work with Nealon, and Nealon lasted longer than Don did, ironically. But Nealon had the requisite amount of athleticism. Now, whether he had all of the necessary tools to be a consistent quarterback, but God, he was interesting.
That's very true. It's very true.
It was interesting.
I'll give you that. Now, there's another guy that in a picture we found out might be coming to the team at some point this past week. Also a Jones guy, because we know he's traded for him once before. The agenda that was posted in the photo op that said Vernon Adams trade. Now, I believe that was not Victor Quee's agenda. I think we kind of figured out that was definitely on the Montreal side, and the picture came down rather quickly. But just give me your 2 cents on that, Dave. What do you think? Do you think that there's something actually being talked about in the background?
Well, if you saw the Montreal Alouettes play, and I don't lay this at Trevor Harris's feet.
Right.
They've got some things going on there.
They're called penalties.
Vernon Adams, Vernon Adams' descent, because Kahari Jones was obviously a very strong advocate of his and probably worked very well with him based on all that you heard, is really kind of unsettling to see, because I thought Vernon Adams could really settle in and do some good stuff in this league. There's enough, you saw enough game from him that you thought, oh, maybe they've got a solution. They've gone through, 400 quarterbacks since Anthony Calvillo.
Give or take.
Matthew Schultz and Antonio Pipka. We could be here a while, right? So, is there something there? I don't know. I don't know Gary Stern at all. Maybe he goes into every meeting with all of the things that the organization, has to do or should do or whatever, and then maybe he just starts reading at the top and goes to the bottom. Hey, Vernon Adams, and you're like, no, we're pretty good. We got Bo Levi Mitchell next. I don't know how he does his meetings, but if there is something there, I'd be intrigued. But what are they trying to do? Like, they get Trey Ford healthy and then you just lock in, would be my take. Mm-hmm. But maybe I'm sure they've got an idea of how they want to approach Trey Ford, because they got an athlete there.
Yeah.
Is he enough of a quarterback to be a quarterback at this level? I don't know what's all that's required. I've been around a bunch, but, they've got something there, I believe.
Yeah. Could he be a Tracy Ham? Who knows?
Yeah. Yeah.
That seemed to work out quite well for him.
Absolutely. Yeah,
for
they
sure.
sure
Yeah.
did. Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
Okay, a couple other things there on the Elks roster. They did sign linebacker Trey Watson from Montreal, and he got through, what, 3/4 of a game before he got hurt, because it's the Elks.
He had a great game.
He did. He had a
Yeah.
great game until he got hurt. They bring back defensive back Malik Saunier, who was then playing, I believe, half, or was he playing corner? He was playing corner, was he?
No,
not?
he was playing corner.
Yeah. And
They
then
moved Jakub
quarterback.
inside.
Exactly. And quarterback Michael Beaudry came back. They then yesterday signed running back Malik Irons and quarterback Ben Holmes. They do release Jalen Collins, which was, for me, a little bit of a surprise, but yet that I know some of these other guys are getting healthy, and we'll talk about that in just a mere moment. But let's get into the game. So it's been a couple of weeks since we've been on. I know we missed the game last week. There was a game. There was rain. Whatever. The most important part is the Elks won last week. That's the part we want to talk about.
Yes.
Massive come from behind win to win 32-31 over the Montreal Alouettes. Tough second quarter for sure. It definitely took a lot out of them then. But then 20 unanswered points as they get into the third quarter and through the fourth. Many thanks as well to Wes Sutton for helping us out with that. We really appreciate him. It was a tough night for
Our best offensive player.
Correct, exactly. If you're wearing 37, it was
Yes.
maybe not your greatest night. Montreal gives up 2 fields worth of penalties, and we say thank you very much. Now, there was other
Merci.
parts to this game. Yeah, correct.
Yes. Yes, we do.
Title of the podcast, Merci, Alouettes. All right, so there was other good things in this game, though, Jaimo. What else did you see in the game that stood out to you?
Ed Gainey's interception.
Oh, beautiful.
I like that a great deal.
Mm-hmm.
Off the schneid.
I think Taylor Cornelius did some things there, and I'm not here to anoint starters. It's not my job. We know that he can throw the ball the length of the field. That is not in question.
Mm-hmm.
Can you protect the ball? Can you not make the throw you think you can make based on your arm strength? That's often it, right? Can I just throw it out, or go ultra safe, or just don't try to force everything, which I think we saw last year with him.
Right.
Yep.
By God, I'm going to throw this ball right through you. Well, that's not what was required there. What we needed was a softer touch on a crossing route, and he throws it in like it's coming from a gun. But that said, now he's the guy of record when they win. Can they just build off this until they can get Trey Ford healthy? Is there something there with that duo? And you've got Kyle Loxley doing some good stuff too. So, I've never seen a situation like this, but we're in a different time, and now with having 2 quarterbacks on the field, and where it's not like before, as you guys know, it was very set, starter, backup, and a third.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah, there you have it. Now it's a very fluid situation, and it just takes some getting used to. But I've never seen it sort of this really, and I'll use the term again, fluid as to who the starter is. It can be truly a game time decision.
Absolutely. I wonder if they used Cornelius's arm this week to put it into those 50-50 ball situations, and that's where we ended up with a lot of the defensive pass interference because Lawler fights for the ball.
Yes, he does.
There are 3 DPI calls in that second half. If you had to guess, how many would you? If Sutton was nowhere near him, how many of those do you think Lawler would have caught? And because there's at least 2 that I can think of that if there wasn't DPI, he would have caught it anyway. It was.
Yeah, I was going to say 2.
Right. So it's amazing that maybe they're using that to the strength of Kenny Lawler as well to, put it down the field and let him go get it. And he earned his paycheck that game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right, Mike, what do you got for us for this one?
For some strengths, like I said, Trey Watson, I thought had a pretty solid game while he was there.
Yes.
Great if he would have been able to play a whole game, but maybe we'll see number 45 coming in next game, so that'll be great.
Yeah.
Like you said, Lawler, 92 yards receiving plus 108 yards in those 3 DPI calls.
Crazy.
So we're talking 200 yards essentially.
Mm-hmm.
And while you think he would have caught 2, maybe he catches all 3, and then that is a 200-yard game. It's been a while since he's had one of those. Loxley was great. I thought Cornelius had a decent game. One person who probably doesn't show up as much on the stat sheet is Adam Konar. I thought he's had quietly a pretty fantastic season. To me, probably his best season since he's been in the league. He's always around the ball, and he seems to really have settled in to that position. Then when Watson was hurt, he moved over and was just as effective. I thought he had a great game.
And a big INT, too.
Yeah, absolutely. That INT was great. And then Scott Hutter. Speaking of turnovers, he had the fumble recovery as well as 8 tackles. He led the team in tackles and 2 special teams tackles. A guy that, again, does not get a whole lot of press, but I think he's been playing outstanding since the first game.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And speaking of people that don't get a lot of press, the O-line was better this game.
Yeah.
Much better this game. Yeah. They were actually opening some holes for Beatty. He got the touchdown on a big hole through the middle. And I just found that they were given. Taylor had to run around a few times for sure, but overall, I thought they did much better, and there wasn't a lot of comment on it when there really should have been. Although I guess that's one of those things, right? When the O-line plays well, you don't hear anything about it. But I want to give some kudos to the big guys because I thought they had a great game. Cordy in particular really had a good game. Was really pushing forward, and he stood out to me. For as much as I watch the O-line in the middle of the play, I've started to get better on trying to watch it on the replay to see who was where, and I just thought Cordy had an amazing game, so I want to give some credit there, friend of the podcast. Yeah. Anything on the side that you're like, well, we should probably improve that? Mike, let me start with you this time, then we'll come back to Jaimo.
I mean, other than, of course, a complete lack of wishbone plays, especially when Saskatchewan's doing them. I'm like, come on, Jason Moss is doing wishbones now?
And power eyes?
Yeah, exactly.
What's going on?
The special teams has been really tough.
Not so special teams.
Charles Nelson has not had a spectacular season. I think that's a fairly safe statement. He had, 3 or 4, 4.7. There it is. Yards average on punt returns. That's not great. And
that's
then
catch and fall down. Yeah.
I mean, when we are punting the ball away, our net average was 22 yards.
Oy.
That is tough on 4 punts from Matt Mangle, who, by the way, had a great tackle in that game. It just maybe shouldn't be that he has to make that tackle.
Right. Yeah. And Mike's stolen my thunder and said it better than I can. I mean, I don't know if I'm going to live long enough to see an Elks touchdown return off a kick or a punt, but I sure hope I do. It's just so strange to me that in a city, you know where I'm going.
Yeah. That
gave the world or the CFL Gizmo. And there have been others with brief flashes. You know the names, Donnie Ashley and Winston October,
sure.
and but it's not a long list. That this has been a Bermuda Triangle position for, you guys must know the years, but it's a long time.
Yeah, I mean, Gizmo's been gone 22 years now.
But it's 2015 was our last return in a regular season game?
2015 was Kendall Lawrence, yeah.
Yeah, right. Kendall. Yeah, that's it. Oy.
Yeah, and
painful.
And it's just one of those curious things, right? Like, like the Philadelphia Flyers and their goaltenders,
Right.
I mean, they've got a good one now, but you know what I'm saying? Like, they just churn through, and it's just an odd thing to me that they can't land on somebody for any length of time and really get the special teams, all of the facets kind of figured out and working at the same time.
Yeah, it's death, taxes, and we're never getting a return. That's basically where we're at. Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess the other thing that I had that was Beatty, although he did have the touchdown, otherwise just a 4-yard run average and wasn't really getting a whole lot of spark. I'm hoping now. Maybe that changes now that we've got Malik Irons, and it looks like there's a possibility he may start this week. But
Well, Beatty's on the PR.
PR.
So
Yeah, so likely we're looking Malik Irons and a whole lot of Litre, which is great. I'm excited about that. But that might be my next jersey. It's gonna be just so I can say
great
Litre.
choice.
Oh, Litre, come on. I got McCarty. Might as well get Litre. There we go.
There you go.
Why is it that I pick all the guys with the long hair? I don't understand. I got none. I pick all the guys.
Envy.
With
That's
That's why.
envy.
That's right.
That's envy.
Oh.
You're projecting. You're projecting.
Don't worry, in the Horde and Tell, that's coming.
Oh, I can't. This is exciting. Okay. All right. Well, speaking of the Horde and Tell, Superfan, it is that time once again for you to get into some Horde and Tell with us. Let me set that up for you here. There we go. What do you have for us today, Uncle Mike? All right.
Well, obviously, we are an Elks podcast, and of course, everything under the previous name, and in fact, previous 5 or 6 names, if I'm going back to the beginnings. But I love talking about not just the team, but football in Edmonton in general. And one of the things that has been around for, my lifetime, everyone here's lifetime, has been junior football in town. Especially the Huskies and the Wildcats. And I got a few more programs recently. This one is a absolute gem condition here. This one is from, hopefully you can see that, 1954. There we go.
Lovely.
That one came in recently. Absolutely gorgeous thing. Oh, a little picture of Mr. Mayor Horlack there.
Ooh.
Yeah, he's a bit of a thief, but that's all right. Great photos and things like that. A lot of these guys did try out for the team back in the day. So it's great to sort of see some of those younger pictures of them and hearing some of the stories, and it's still great football to watch. But which is particularly spectacular, an absolutely phenomenal gift from one of our good friends, Linda Edwards, who found some things that her brother had played. I can't remember if it was the Huskies or the Wildcats. I want to say Wildcats, which means I'm probably wrong. And hopefully she'll correct me. But she graciously gave me some of the yearbooks from the years, from the 70s years. And absolutely outstanding. Here's a great one from 1975.
Nice.
Hopefully everyone can see that. Most importantly, though,
yes.
and this picture's already been
I think
saved.
I know where this is going.
There we go. Hopefully people can see that. Beautiful shot.
Oh, look at
one, Mr. Marco Sinkar. Look at that. Luscious dew. Absolutely famous. Of course, that's why Linda did put the bookmark in there just so I could see it. There's 19, I think this is 76. Another beautiful one there.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah, this is going.
I love the
77.
artwork from that era. I just love. That's great.
And again, some great photos in each one of these. For guys like Dave Zakarko, who was with the team in '79, and his sister ended up being Miss, not only representing the team, but in the Miss Grey Cup pageant, but she won Miss Grey Cup. Again, looks like 1978.
Wow.
And this is back when they were using illustrators instead of just simple throwaway pictures. And then the last one here, 1979. Again,
That's
just
awesome.
absolutely fantastic stuff.
Yeah.
And again, great photos of players that some made the team, but others, maybe this was the last shot at football for them. But I absolutely love this kind of stuff. And reading these stories, not just about the Elks and the previous teams that have been here over the last 100-some-odd years, but the university teams and the junior teams and stuff like that, and just absolutely fantastic stuff. So a huge thank you to Linda for these. These have been I've poured over them about 30 times since I've got them. Just looking at these old photos and just seeing, oh my God, I think that guy played for the team or was in training camp or whatever, and finally getting to see a photo of some of these, because even Jaimo, I've had people asking me for photos of players if I have any, because some of them just it's hard to find.
Yeah.
Yes.
Some of these really, really obscure players that maybe tried out, and people are like, do you have a picture of this guy? And you're like, why this guy?
I think we've talked about it. Previously, but and if we have, my apologies. But when we were preparing to move from the old building to the new one, the history of the team was preserved in these huge books.
Yeah.
And receptionists going back decades would dutifully cut out the newspapers.
Right.
And tape the stories into the pages and write it down what day it was. And they were huge books, and you would flip them over with great, flourish, and on the next page they were heavy.
Mm-hmm.
So when we were preparing to move, and they were in a safe in the old building, I thought, well, we're many things, but we are not archivists, and this stuff's going to get lost. And so I had contacted the City of Edmonton Archives and the armories and introduced myself and said, we're preparing to move, and I believe that, we're a community-owned team and that this should be in the safekeeping of the city. And they were really excited to get those, decades of stuff, and it is all there available for the public. A lot of it's been, and Mike, it was great. We needed dollies to push these books in. They're huge, and they're super heavy. Oh, yeah.
Oh, they are.
There.
They're like almost 3 feet long and 2
Yeah.
feet tall and, a good 4 inches thick kind of thing. So they're huge.
They're really, and, for anyone who's, wants to research or just, it's all there. It's all there, but I'm really glad that we went ahead and did it. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, that is outstanding.
I've actually been recently. Victor Cui had very kindly offered to show me some of the archives for the team, and I talked to Alan Watt, and he connected me with one of the archivists at the City Archives, because that's who was basically inherited, specifically the paper stuff, right? All the
Yes.
Whether it's posters, whether it's booklets, whether it's whatever, anything that you really need to take care to preserve and make sure it lasts. And there is some absolutely phenomenal stuff out there. Stuff on the annual dinners going back to the original one in 1964, all the programs and information about stuff like that. And I'm so glad it's not getting lost because of people like you and before you who are thinking enough to put these scrapbooks together and preserve it so people can flip through them. When I was there, people would kept coming over to my tables to see this massive stack of these scrapbooks. It's like, what's that? Oh, that's cool. And then they'd be telling me their stories. As fans, remembering, some of these players from, 1968, that was my first year as a season ticket holder. And that's one of the things I love more than anything else is that connection people had and hopefully still have. And I don't know if they're necessarily capturing that with the newest generations, and I really hope they do.
Yeah,
agreed.
Absolutely.
Agreed.
All right, week 7, gentlemen. It is time for us to get ready for this week's game, Elks versus the Bombers. Elks will need every bit of their A game in this one. The Bombers coming off 2 giant wins over BC and Calgary. And we're not likely to get the easy DPI calls this week as we did last one. O-line's going to need to be enormous against this incredible Bombers D-line. What are our keys to the game? Where do we get through this game and look towards a win at home? It's been only 1,020 days now, but
not that we're counting.
No. I just have marks on the wall. Other than that, it's fine. But
better than marks on your skin. That's for sure.
Well, I'm running out of wall space. Title of the podcast: "Running Out of Wall Space." Okay.
I hear you.
Yeah, exactly. Jaimo, what are our keys to pull out this win on Friday?
Well, pull out a win. Winnipeg is going to have to stub its toe quite badly. Now, no team is perfect. They're not the 72 Dolphins yet, but they are good in all the facets. They are well coached. They're the gold standard in the CFL. You win back-to-back Grey Cups, you've earned that, and they're now 6-0. I think if Edmonton can keep it close, don't get run off the field, don't give up the big play, because the big play, like we saw in the Calgary game, really knocks. This is an Elks team that's still fragile. It's still, getting its sea legs, Bambi on ice.
Yeah.
But, and get to the third quarter, get to the second half, and breaks can happen. You guys have been watching football, your whole lives, and I've been in it for a good chunk of mine. And teams that are overmatched, and this is David and Goliath here. But David sometimes can win, But it's a tall order, and they're going to have to play nearly flawless football, certainly in offense. No, Cornelius, don't sling it, even though you might want to fight the urge to do so.
Mm-hmm.
And just kind of, if you can, get in the way. Winnipeg, like when they played the BC Lions, good Lord. I mean, that was a team they flexed.
Yeah.
Like Winnipeg had won every game prior to BC, but against BC, they went, we'll show you why we're good. Stand back.
Yeah, no kidding.
And they did. And you just don't want to allow them to stand back, because that's a well-coached team, man. They look like everybody knows exactly what they're supposed to do at exactly the right time. So, can the Elks do it? Yeah, but it's a really tall order.
Yeah, absolutely. Superfan, what do you got?
I think that for a team like Jaimo says, as great in every facet that they seem to be, I don't think anyone disputes that they are going to be number one in the power rankings for a while until someone can knock them off. They're the only undefeated team now, having knocked off two undefeated teams back-to-back in BC and Calgary. You're going to have to be patient, and you are going to have to do some confusion in there and sort of surprise them, things that they do not expect on offense, on defense, and God forbid, maybe on special teams. Just you've got to disguise as much as you possibly can on all three facets of what you're doing, and hopefully can maybe catch them. They were prepared for BC and Calgary because they were the top two other teams. We're the fifth team out of 5 in the West, and maybe they'll be. I don't think they'll be looking past us. I don't think O'Shea would ever let that happen, but maybe they're not quite taking us as seriously, and we can capitalize on that. But, I mean, if we do, that's like a first quarter thing, and then you've got to hold on as tightly as you can. But,
yes.
We're coming against a very strong defensive line, and this is going to be the biggest test our offensive line's had.
Yeah, so you're talking about shakeups and things like that. Like, we might see Deron Carter playing defense for his first game. Is that shakeup enough? Is that does that make everything? I don't know if that on defense. This is going to be interesting. If nothing else, it's going to be a show. Make it a show.
Another reason why we love Linda. She says wishbone.
That's right. Yeah, exactly.
They don't see it coming.
That's right. No, they don't see it coming. Do it now. That's right.
Maybe a single wing. It'll be great.
That would be out. Yeah, Kyle Loxley in back, and then Irons and Litre on either side of Cornelius, because you can have two quarterbacks on the field. I mean,
yes, you can.
They came so close too, right? With the Cornelius back pass to Loxley and then down the field and off the hands. Like I was so excited for them to actually have that work, and then
it was a well executed play.
Except for the catch. Yes, it was lovely. Yeah, it was. Yeah, but we're gonna need some tricksing and things like that. On the other hand, no fake punts out of the end zone, Chris Jones. We can be very clear about that.
Some great suggestions in here as well too.
Oh, excellent. Okay, well, I'm excited for those, and we'll talk about those when we get into into overtime. Maybe they use the short game to set up the long game this week, where dump passes, and then double move and down you go. I don't know. There's got to be something. You got to try something different for sure to break that defense. So let's talk pick'ems, because we got to pick all the other games. Let's see where things are at. So we've got a doubleheader Thursday. Not my favorite thing in the world, but doubleheader Thursday. First game is Montreal versus Ottawa. That happening in the capital. We've got Hamilton versus BC in the late game out on the West Coast. Then we have, of course, our game on Friday, and then we have Toronto versus Saskatchewan on Saturday. The rematch of Touchdown Atlantic, where hopefully helmets will all stay on heads and not be flying at other people.
You're talking to someone that definitely knows about a helmet coming off.
You know all about that. Yeah. We were all watching for you, Jaimo. You didn't come running out on the field right at that moment, but
I'm too old for that now.
You've done it once. Was it more than enough? Yeah.
Exactly.
I don't need to do this again. All right. So everyone in the chat, if you have an option for us for a prop bet for the Elks game, throw it in the chat and we'll throw up some options. And Jaimo, you'll get to pick which prop bet we're going to do for the Elks game, because we never pick against them. We just do prop bets. But we'll pick the other 3 games. So who do you have in those 3 games? Montreal, Ottawa, Hamilton, BC, and Toronto, Saskatchewan.
I will go Ottawa.
Okay.
And I think I'm doing this because I think very highly of both Sean Burke, who I know from fellow PR guy with Hamilton years ago, and I want them to win. The Red Blacks they've been working this hard, and with losing Mazzoli, I want something good to happen to them. I don't want this to build and keep going.
I like it.
Hamilton, I can't figure out, are they a bad football team or a good team playing badly?
That's a great question.
Not a team, and I can't quite get that figured out. And Orlando Steinauer and the group there, that's a good organization, but something doesn't jive for me. But BC is, Nathan Rourke left the last game against Winnipeg and went, I better, I got some stuff to learn. And he's such a great story. You want to see it keep going.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go BC over Hamilton. Hamilton fly. It's in Vancouver, correct? Or if I got it,
that is correct.
Okay,
yeah.
So it's the fly out to the coast, and sorry, give me the Saskatchewan. Sorry,
the rematch.
Touchdown Atlantic rematch. Wow. Well, I haven't heard, unless you guys have. What's Cody Fajardo's health like?
But they have not announced yet. They're not sure if they're even going to be playing him yet. So
right. So, well, you've asked me, so I'm going to go with it. I'm going to go Riders will win this, but if they do, they're going to have to, because Fajardo, you saw the headline on tsn.ca, he doesn't know how long he can play this pain game. Right. When your quarterback, and he's pretty good, says that, you go, whoa. Now, I don't know what their number 2 is, and I'm sorry, I should know that, but it's a drop down. Yeah, okay. So that's a drop down. Yeah. In terms of ability, at least, and experience. So I'm going to go Saskatchewan, but I've got misgivings.
Okay.
Until I get an injury report. Yeah.
That's fair. Super fan.
I think I'm going to go the other way around. I'm going to go with Montreal in this game. We always seem to have that up and down with Trevor Harris, good Trevor, bad Trevor. Not that he was a terrible game. I think he was pretty accurate in his game, certainly more than we had. But he did have those 2 interceptions, so not necessarily the greatest game. I think he's going to have a bit of a bounce back, and I'm just not really sold on Caleb Evans in Ottawa. Maybe Arbuckle comes in. We'll see. But I'm still going to take Montreal on that one. Hamilton versus BC. Again, you've got a Hamilton team crossing 3 time zones to play in BC, who is still smarting from that beatdown that Winnipeg gave them. And I think that Rourke is going to have learned from that. And you've got to have that adversity to be able to come back. So I'm going to take them. And then Toronto versus Saskatchewan, like Jaimo said, I don't know if Cody is going to be playing. And we haven't heard anything. There's a suspension to maybe, that could be a suspension to Duke Williams. And that takes away their number 1 weapon on the 50-50 ball, as well as such a powerful weapon on offense in general. If those both happen, I think Toronto takes this game. So I've never been a huge MBT fan, but I think that he can definitely get it done. And if there's a bit of a disarray in the rectangle, I'm certainly hoping for it, as we all are. We are 1 game behind Saskatchewan. Yep. So if we could find a way to win this game and they can lose it, we're tied for them. And then we got a game coming up against them the next time we play. So that's my picks are, Montreal, BC, and Toronto.
All right. And I'm going Ottawa, BC, and Toronto because I will never pick Saskatchewan. That's right.
That's fair.
Because no one picks the wrong shade of green. That's right. Now, do we have some prop bet ideas in there, Superfan, in the chat?
Let's see what we've got here. David Winchester says offensive yards for Edmonton. Chris Agar says kick return yards average for Edmonton.
Oh, my.
And Coach Vic says Elks defensive turnovers.
Ooh, my. Okay. So, Jaimo, do any of those appeal to you, or did you have something else in mind?
Maybe you can have an audible. Yeah.
No. I'm going to go Coach Vic.
You're going to go Coach Vic. Okay. The Elks defensive turnovers against Winnipeg, which they do not turn over the ball very much. Okay.
I know, and I know Caleros has been, I mean, he's probably, I don't imagine anyone could argue much about him being MOP right now, or at least at this point.
Right.
No.
But you can have those games.
Yep, that's very true. Okay, I will put the line on this one at 1.5. So, Superfan, we'll start with you this time.
I was expecting him to have one turnover in this game. That he just gets rid of that ball so quickly, and he'd rather take the sack than to throw that INT. So I'm going to go with under in this one.
All right, Jaimo.
I'm going to go over. I'm going to go
Okay.
two turnovers. Yeah.
All right. Okay. I am going to go over as well with 2 because I figure it'll be very close, and then Mike will probably win. But that's okay because this is why it's fun.
I hope I lose.
That's exactly.
Mike is a worthy victor. Mike is a worthy victor if that's the case.
Exactly. Yeah, and we understand if that's how that goes. All right. In the fantasy realm. Which, I mean, you'd think I'd be talking about a home win when I talk about that. But anyway, I'm talking about fantasy football. Mike loses to Os Davis this week from Rouge, White, and Blue. I was on the bye week, so that didn't affect me at all. But this week, we have a couple of fun matchups. I get one Ryan Ballantyne from the Horsemen, so I guess I know what he's picking.
The villain music, yeah.
Yeah. Hey, wait a second. Actually, is Calgary playing this week?
No, they're not.
Ooh, well, this could be. So he's going to pick all Bombers just to piss me off because that's what he does.
Yeah, sure.
You get Brazilian Tie from the 2 and Out podcast.
Oh, I got my work cut out for me.
Exactly. So, but Superfan, you and I are both 3rd and 4th in the overall standings of said fantasy league at this point. So
I'm tied right now.
Yeah. So follow all of the news on that on Twitter, and of course find all of those great shows at CF Pod Network on Twitter. This episode is also brought to you by Park Power, your local utilities provider with low rates, great service, and profit sharing with local charities. In Alberta, you get to choose who to buy your internet, electricity, and natural gas from. If you switch providers, nothing changes about the delivery of these utilities to your home or business. If you have an existing contract, you're going to want to find out what the terms are before leaving, but if you don't, then it's even easier to sign up for Park Power. You as the consumer have the choice of who to pay your power bills to. Why not choose your friendly local utilities provider? Learn more at parkpower.ca. That's parkpower.ca. Jaimo, this was amazing to have you back on the podcast. Are you going to stick around for overtime with us?
I'm sure. What does it require?
Oh, we're just
dancing,
it's just
karaoke, nothing.
No, just straight open chatter. So it's just more football talk.
Happy to.
But we're very happy to have had you back on the show. And thank you again for all your stories and insights. And we're so glad that you're doing better. I know you're still struggling, but it's important to us, and we're so glad to have you back to chat football. So,
yeah, thanks so much.
Yeah, absolutely. So tell everyone where they can find you, because everybody wants more Jaimo.
Well, and you're getting them now. I now do a 4-hour show. I co-host an extravaganza from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Weekdays on TSN 1260 called Low Tide and Jamieson. And the second name on the marquee, as it should be. And my friend Alan Mitchell, who goes by the name Low Tide, is a long-time blogger, one of the earliest to get in on that on the Edmonton Oilers. And he has a book coming out in September called On the Clock. And so you want to buy that on the draft history of the Edmonton Oilers. It's not all bad. And it's been a lot of fun. We're now into week 7 of this 4-hour iteration. And it's been a lot of fun. We can go a lot of different places. Al is clearly very skilled in the area of hockey and certainly around the Edmonton Oilers. And, I have a sort of a broader, base in my sports knowledge. And so we're having a lot of fun with it. It's been really, it's been a nice change.
Fantastic. So we'll tune in there and follow you on Twitter at Jamieson1260, right?
Indeed.
Perfect. Super fan. Where does everybody find you?
You can find me at 56 Sparkies, and then the history stuff can be found at the Edmonton Football History account. That's at EDMHISTOREE.
Perfect. And you can find me at Freepalicious, where I talk more probably Lego and a little bit of football, just because, Can't get enough of the Lego.
Why not?
And probably more Thor: Love and Thunder when I see it 100 more times because it's an awesome movie. The screaming goats make the whole movie. It's fantastic. You got to see it. Our APN shout out this week is going to The Breakfast Dish. Dance, music, visual art, theater, and get to know you conversations with the artist behind the work. Join Griffin Cork and his mom Karen Johnson Diamond every Monday morning as they meet the creators of today's digital offerings. Find them and all the other great shows at the Alberta Podcast Network.com. There we go. Put that, stretch that out.
Like, something's wrong with my sound.
Yeah, something's weird. Yeah, exactly. Also, of course, make sure you're following our friends at Pay It Forward with Football as they continue to send people to games and spread kindness through football. Make sure you're following us too. It's at the Turf District. You can find us on Twitter, on Facebook, on Instagram. We're trying to do a little more on there to kind of engage with everybody and be part of things. Of course, when there's a game on and we're sitting in the stands, don't expect a whole bunch of tweets, but make sure that you join us the rest of the time when we're chatting about how the game went down or the lead up to said game. Superfan game is at 7 this Friday, so tailgate opens at 5.
Yes, sir.
What are we having?
Oh, see, this is right in the middle of that K-Days festivities, so
Yes.
we thought it'd be kind of fun to, bring the K-Days party to us.
Correct.
So we're going to have not only some corn dogs, some fries, some popcorn, even some cotton candy. We'll have some games for the kids and even some prizes for those games as well for everyone who participates, win or lose. So I think there might even be some football relations in there, so we will see. It's going to be a great time. Bring the family down and join us talking about some football.
Absolutely. And then get your ticket, get into the game, and then, of course, come meet us at west of us at halftime on the concourse, Section G. We're excited to have all of you there to chat with us and see how the game is going. We'll either sob together or laugh together. You never know. You never know how that's all going to play out. It makes it
Mini donuts make it all better.
Correct. And we're right by them, which is great. Yeah, exactly. So if you're on YouTube, stick around for overtime. We'll be back to chat more football. Otherwise, we will be back next week to talk about the third win for the Elks as they get ready for their bye week. We got to be excited about this.
Hey, first win in the home in a long time.
Correct. And a programming note, we will be back on Sunday to record the podcast. As it is bye week, we're going to get together a bit earlier and chat some more stuff and then take that week to have a break. So if you're sticking around, great. Otherwise, thank you so much for joining us. For Jaimo, Superfan Mike, and Commissioner Kayla, I'm Andrew. Remember, you can't catch footballs with your face, and we will absolutely talk to you next week.
Thanks for listening. Find more great shows like this at CF Pod Network on Twitter.
See you later.